Awesome. Welcome, everyone, to the Science of Getting Rich. I'm joined by my friend Yuri. And would you pronounce your last name for me?
Verbishchuk.
Verbishchuk. I'm here with Yuri Verbishchuk. And, of course, you know me, Yogi Chris, PhD, or Chris DeVilbus. And we're talking about the science of getting rich, which is a book title, but it's a really interesting word phrase. For me, it immediately put my attention on monetary or resource wealth. And when Yuri sent me a screenshot of some, an excerpt from the book, and I read it, and I thought, oh yeah, I get it now. Or at least I get a different angle. And so Yuri, I'd like it if you kind of picked it up from there and talked about, because you said you need to read this book, Chris. This would be really good for you. Science of Getting Rich. It sounds exactly like what you're talking about, and I think you'd like it. And I'm curious about why you thought it'd be good for me and your interpretation of that title.
Yeah, I think reading that book is one of the most important things that any human being can do, because when I read it, I understood that this book has been written by nature. It's the closest laws of nature that there is in book form. And I've read this book probably over 100 times now, and I've applied all the concepts in order to develop myself into the person that I am now, and I'm continuously doing that. And yeah, it's been a tremendous benefit to me.
Absolutely. And I'd like to inform everyone about you as far as what I know about you, and let you kind of take that away, because I'm very interested in what you have to say about your experiences, and I think my listeners would too. Yuri did 4 months of meditation retreat in South and Central Asia and went to various Buddhist temples, was essentially a monk, and went deep into some Vipassana and some other probably meditation styles, had some realizations, and ultimately led him to a conference that was taking place in Hollywood, where we met this last week in Hollywood, California, called the Evolution of Consciousness Convention. And there we met up with one of my teachers, Arash Dibazar, who is a master, grand master, and is my master, is number one, top tier of my teacher hierarchy. And this is where Yuri and I really, really connected, I think, because of our ability to see what's going on with Arash, at least to our level. And so I'd love to hear your take or fill in any of the gaps where I just said, so that the listeners have a little more context of, when you say this is the essential book of spirituality, why should they be listening to you? Kind
of. Yes. When I was 19, I took a 10-day Vipassana course. And on the third day, I instantly knew that this was going to be the work that I would be doing for the rest of my life. And it had such a tremendous impact on me that I decided to leave home right after as I came home from the 10-day retreat. I left home to Ottawa for a 10-day stay at a legit Buddhist forest monastery. After I left, I came back home, and I decided that I wanted to live as a life as a monk, because the practice of meditation is vital to spiritual growth. And so again, I left home and I went to Thunder Bay, and I stayed at a hermitage for 5 months during the wintertime. And so up until now, I'm 23 now, my life has been just deeply diving into the study of Buddhism, into the Buddhist teachings. And I'm 100% convinced that following the teachings of the Buddha will solve every single problem on planet Earth. And so I have been, I'm the example of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's so fascinating. I don't really follow Buddhism or Buddha that much. I read a little bit when I first got into yoga, and whatever I found on Wikipedia kind of thing. And I know that my teacher Arash was big into Buddhism and now continues to emphasize Buddhism. And in particular, I was impressed and taken back when we were in one of the little workshop meeting lecture type things. And he says to us group, there was a group of spiritual number right there. And he says, the person here that's closest or most aligned with where this information is coming from, he's teaching about relationships and social dynamics and that sort of thing. the person most aligned with where the origin of my teaching right now is Yuri, because of his alignment with the teachings of the Buddha. And so I'm fascinated by how did you understand that moment when he said that? What was going through your mind or through your no mind or whatever? I don't know. Just what's your take on that?
It seems that I have been engaged on a journey for many lifetimes now of eradicating all of the unwholesome qualities from within my heart.
Wow.
And now I've come to the point that a lot has been let go of. And the more unwholesomeness that I get rid of, the more purity I have. And because of this, I'm able to very clearly see the world around me. And yeah, so I guess I have a strong foundation for learning anything that Arash has to offer.
Yeah. And the language of it, because of your training, and I'm sure the people that were talking with you in this kind of ancient language of the science of the mind, gives you a sort of precision in how you're talking. Like some of the things you just said, poetic and very to the point of where we're going with all of this. I resonate so clearly with it because of my yoga practice, I believe, has given me a certain element of clear seeing that when I witness Arash doing what he's doing, I see many levels. I see levels that are unseen. I see the energy of it. Like tonight on the Silent Flute, I'm talking about chakra 5 in a 7-chakra system. So I'm talking about Vishuddha, this purification, talking about purity. And so I see the energy or the aura of what's happening, but I see another layer. I see a layer of, you might call it like the genetic code. He refers to this a lot, where you see actions and reactions between him and the woman, between him and all of us, between the environments, like there were 4 girls behind us at some point, and how they started reacting to indirect actions of Arash, other people in the venue, the people that work there. So I see like another embedded layer, and there's probably many layers. I'm just kind of delineating a couple of what's all happening simultaneously. And I would not be able to do that were it not for my periphery, to be able to defocus but stay focused, to stay receptive but not lazy. And so it's so fascinating. I love that you saw it also, and your fresh take, you have a fresh language on it that I knew that I wanted to interact with you on this level and talking about it. And so I'm really curious about, you would describe what happened in your training with Arash this weekend, or just in general, the evolution of consciousness, what some takeaways that you saw, because I think this is your first time in our community, like in person. Am I right?
Yes.
So that's great, man. I'm really interested in your fresh eyes on what you saw.
Third day, I think, there was it was the first time that Arash spoke, and he got on stage and he did some funny thing, and he started to speak, and for the first time I saw what a man is supposed to be like, what a man is supposed to sound like, how a man is supposed to behave. It was incredible. I was so moved that I knew that this is the man that I want to learn from. This is the man that I want to be around. This is the man that I would give all my resources to in order to be in his tribe.
Wow.
And when he got off stage after, I don't know, an hour of talking, there was what came after? It was
the fashion show.
The fashion show, yes. And people started to come on the stage, male models, and I saw that especially the male models, they had something. It was the biggest contrast I've ever seen in my life. It was
they behaved. They had the body language of what you might call a beta male. They didn't swing their arms when they walked. They were kind of frozen in their energy. Their facial expression was very stoic, which is a sign of freezing their emotions. They didn't want to emote because they didn't have the communication language to channel their energy correctly. So they felt an emotion. Like, have you ever not communicated much, and then somebody says something funny and then you laugh, but then you think you shouldn't? It's because you went from a frozen state to just letting it all flow. So the waters came crashing out. And part of what I see the science of Arash and this whole community is, how do I communicate what's happening inside in a way that doesn't agitate or offend the group? One or two individuals get agitated, you please everyone, but I don't want to offend the group. That's social dynamics. So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take over, but that was an example of me not being able to contain my energy. So please take it away.
Yeah, and I saw that those guys had something within them. It was almost like they were afraid to see themselves. And I can empathize with that because I have the same thing, or I had the same thing. And yeah, I still to some extent have this kind of I don't know, like right now I'm talking to you and my body is just vibrating with energy, and I'm trying to move around to kind of let it go. But yeah, Arash is one of the most advanced human beings that I've ever seen in my life, and that's just the fact of it.
Absolutely. Everybody, I also want to mention this is an open Q&A. If you have any comments or questions, you can type them either on the Facebook feed or in the Zoom chat. And take about the future, Yuri. What I've done a similar thing of just empty my bank accounts because Arash had what I wanted, and I'm still seeking. And I have a document, brother, that I'll share with you one day of a lot of really valuable excerpts from different teachings. And so, yeah, what's your take about the future? How do you see the next 1, 3, 6 months, 12 months, whatever time span you want?
Yeah, a perception that I developed when I was when we were doing the seminar or the event was that I saw that the entire planet is like a house, or the entire planet just filled with people, and we're all just one tribe because we're on this planet. And the only game in town is just spiritual growth and development. And that's all we're here for. And if I can help someone to evolve and grow as a human being, that's all I want to do. And
statement, man. I love that. The only game here is spiritual growth. Yes. So, where do you see communication playing into this? Arash is a grandmaster of communication.
It's vital because I have ideas in my mind that are very valuable to other people to hear, and if I can't get them out, then they're like I'm useless. So I need to get them out.
Yeah. I feel you on that one. And so, because you're so self-aware and have the capacity to both become extremely humble, but at the same time extremely divine, there was an element in some of our conversations of certainty that some would call egotistical, but I didn't see it like that. I saw like a diamond. Like a diamond mind. Like there was a hardness and a purity to what you were saying, but then at other times there's a complete surrender and like you're not even there. And so because of self-awareness and the ability to both be humble and very certain, I'm curious, either maybe like before EC2 or currently, where is your communication at? And where would you like it to be at? Where would it go? As a meditation practitioner, what do you want for yourself in your own communication?
Something happened to me when I was at the event, and it was right after Arash had spoken to me for maybe two minutes, so 120 seconds. And something so dramatic happened to me that it felt like I had let go of something that has been holding me back for, I don't know, for a very long time. And the very next day, I found myself walking down the street and being very, very, like, extremely comfortable at looking people in the eyes.
Yes.
And I would just look at them in their eyes because I could look at myself. I was no longer afraid to look at myself. And I saw that people are uncomfortable to look at other people because they're uncomfortable to look at themselves. And yeah, so this kind of free expression is because of Arash Ibuzar. Yeah.
Wow, that's speaking my language, brother. That's exactly what I'll be talking tonight about on the Silent Flute. The similarity, or even the identicalness, the pure reflection of what we see on the outside and what we're seeing or communicating on the inside. And take on that. Like, is that why everyone's suffering so much? Like they're experiencing suffering on the outside, or they're seeing or judging suffering on the outside, like that person's in this situation, a bunch of negative judgments or whatever. They have that on the inside, and is to weed or clear or uproot, from like everything that you're carrying in your life and in your mind? Is this, or how would you change that?
Yeah, I have to stand up because I'm just beaming with energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only person that you're ever dealing with is with yourself. And whatever kind of problems that you see are actually problems with your own mind and your own thinking and your own mental images. There's nothing else.
Yes.
So it's all in.
Say it so eloquently. So I think that would be a great place to pick up the next time, is talking about how we just kind of, they're the only problems that you're having are the problems in your mind. The only problems that you're seeing are the problems in your mind. They're not problems outside of you. They're the problem your mind is having experiencing reality. And, there's a problem in the code. Your mind is not coded to receive the information in a way that serves you. And this is where you get that whole cliche thing that you hear at yoga classes of let go of everything that doesn't serve you. Yeah, but how do you identify what's not serving you? Because it doesn't feel good? Or no, there's other ways. And this is what we talk about in Silent Flute. And this is where Yuri and I think, are going to pick it up maybe next week. Would you like to do this again?
For sure, yeah. As many days as we can.
Yeah. I got one coming up with Robert Nelson on Thursday about communication. I got one coming up with Akash on Saturday about some of our takeaways from EC2. And I'd love to invite BC, which is our friend Brian Casella, and Frank White, and really get the whole clan in a rotation. I'd love to communicate more about these topics because you all have immaculate language on your experience, and I'm very interested in making my perception more dynamic and more adaptable and flexible, see it from different angles. So I'll just we'll end it here. If anybody has any comments or questions, now is the chance. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. And as usual today, actually, there's 30 minutes left. I want to give a shout out to Fundamental Mindset Processes, which is a product that I compiled, 10 short videos of mental processes learned from Vince Kelvin, probably 3 or 4 of those processes, and then 5 or 6 from Arash Dibazar just over the years. And I've put together these short videos. It's immaculate, $39. Otherwise, it goes up in price at midnight Eastern time. And go to ninthlim.com for that. It's on the shop page. So any questions, let me check the Zoom chat. I got, doesn't look like anybody's typed any questions on Zoom. On Facebook, I'm checking any questions. Let's see. No, not there. Amber says, thank you. There were 9 viewers on Facebook, so it's pretty good. Total, we got like 14 viewers live. Most I think I've had is like 40 something. Sometimes nobody shows up and I just record like a monologue. Jonathan Werder, type in the link. Okay, Paul Tully. Yuri, what led you to attend the 10-day Vipassana course?
Suffering. Yeah, nothing else. Just suffering.
Where did you notice suffering in your life at that time?
Hard to say. It was just inside me, just constantly dealing with thoughts that I didn't want to have, with feelings and emotions that I didn't want to experience. I didn't know how to relate to my own mind. Didn't know how to behave around life in a way that didn't cause me suffering and didn't cause other suffering as well. And so I was when I came in contact with the Buddhist teachings, that all instantly fell away.
Nice. Super cool. And Amber, good question. Paul Tully, wow. Chris, okay, Manuel. Post those a few days ahead of time. What time and speakers? Yeah, I'll make a schedule, and I may adapt the time actually so that it's consistent. Like every time I do the podcast, it's always like, let's say today was at 8. Let's say every day is at 8 p.m. Eastern time, or whatever days I'm doing it, it's always on an 8 p.m. So I'll work out the kinks in the next 6 days as I run through all the speakers on my, and then I'll do that. So stay tuned, and thank you, Yuri, for joining. This will go up on Automatic, guys, and also on YouTube, and I'll catch you next time.
Okay, take care.